A complex sentence has one independent and one dependent clause. This is lesson 11 in the Architecture of Grammar. My name is Léandre Larouche. I'm the author of the Architecture of Grammar and the founder of Trivium Writing. In the last video, we've talked about simple sentences, which only have one independent clause, so only one who, what, as well as the additional information blocks, and no conjunction. So just one independent block. Well, in a complex sentence, it actually has both. So we have both the dependent and the independent. Now remember, both in the dependent and the independent, we always have the who and the what. The difference, though, is that when it comes to the dependent clause, there is also a conjunction. So this could be before, after, although. There are a lot of different conjunctions which you can all find in the book, The Architecture of Grammar. But all these conjunctions make it so that the who and the what are, so these two, they are dependent on this. So these do not tell the full story. These do not end the story, but these do. And again, we could have a whole bunch of other blocks. We could have when, we could have where, we could have how, and why. And the same thing is true here. That doesn't matter. Again, these two, these are the grammatical requirement. We need those in order to have a grammatical sentence, but these other blocks can be added depending on what we are wanting to say. Why? So again, there can be a lot of different blocks. That's not the point. The point is this. The point is the conjunction. This is what makes the difference between a dependent and an independent clause. Because again, the root is the same, the who and the what, and all the other information blocks. So again, a complex sentence has both the dependent and the independent clause. What's also important to note about complex sentences is that there are two types of complex sentences. There are periodic sentences and there are loose sentences. And this really has to do with the order in which we place the dependent clause. So in a periodic sentence, we place the dependent clause first and then the independent clause second. So before he bought the penthouse, before Léandre bought the penthouse, the market crashed. So dependent and dependent. The reason we call it periodic is that the main point, which is the independent clause, is at the end. And so this is a stronger type of sentence. Now the loose sentence is the opposite. It's independent and it has the dependent clause at the end. So for example, we said before Léandre bought the penthouse, the market crashed. So that would be the market crashed before Léandre bought the penthouse. So the independent is at the beginning and it makes the sentence a little weaker. So what we suggest, and by the way, periodic sentences, the more you use them, the better your writing will be because they're just stronger. So what we recommend is a ratio of 1 to 5 for the loose sentence. So every 5 periodic sentence, you can use one loose sentence, but you should be prioritizing periodic sentences because It makes your writing easier to read. It makes it more interesting as well, and it's just better. It's just better writing. Now there are other types of there's other types of information. There's relative clauses that you can put in a sentence and not. There are types of clauses like that. Now we go into a lot more details in the book, The Architecture of Grammar. So you can go in the lesson 11 in the Architecture of Grammar and look at all the examples and get a lot more thorough explanations. But this is the bottom line. When it comes to complex sentences, you have two types of sentences. You have periodic sentences and you have loose sentences. And it's always better to use periodic sentences. We recommend a ratio of 1 to 5 loose sentences.